The Vision betrayed Seth Rollins. It just happened in Perth, Australia. Oh, yeah. And we have a new number one contender and a mega victory for Dominic Mysterio and so much more. This is the Raw Recap, a WWE and Fanatics original production. All right, Megan, I was ready to kind of come in and go like, oh, okay, let's talk some more about Crown Jewel and ease into what happened on Monday Night Raw.
Ease into the day, ease into the week, ease into the morning. We had wrestling on at 8 a.m. today.
You know how stressful it is to be sitting there just having a little schmear on a bagel and the Vision betrays Seth Rollins? Do you know the type of stress that I carry through the day when something that literally changes everything happens right in front of our face before? I mean, it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
How do you go on about your day?
Well, luckily I have this and I have you and we have everybody that we can talk about all of this with, because I think I speak for both of us when I say we have feelings.
Oh, tons.
Good.
Tons of feelings.
All right, so let's get into this, okay?
Yes.
All right, so this is a through line that played throughout Monday Night Raw tonight that we didn't even realize was happening. I guess in hindsight, maybe you do a little like Sixth Sense and you go, oh, he really was dead the whole time. But like while it was happening, no.
The only thing I'll disagree, I didn't think the turn was happening tonight. I didn't think the Vision, I didn't think Braun Breaker was going to spear Seth Rollins tonight. Didn't have that on my bingo card. But it did stop me in my tracks when Seth Rollins said, I don't need anybody. I don't need Paul Heyman. I don't need Braun Breaker. I don't need Bronson Reed.
Yeah, for sure.
Did I think it was going to pay off tonight? No.
Well, I thought we were, breadcrumbs are breadcrumbs,
Yes.
right? And I was talking to somebody about it, and I said, yes. Did I think that we were looking at what could eventually be Braun Breaker turning on Seth Rollins? Yeah, maybe we'll get it by the end of the year. Maybe we'll get it early next year. I didn't think we were going to get it before lunchtime. And that's what, so we start the show, right? And we have the Vision in the ring together, which already, and we need to get into this to figure out where the root of this lies, how long this has been a plan, if it was decided today, if it was decided yesterday, weeks ago, months ago.
We got to go back frame by frame.
Oh, 100%.
We're going to wrestling therapy.
That's where we stay. So the Vision's in the ring together, and immediately I'm like, in this whole ramp up to Crown Jewel, we didn't really see the Vision together cohesively. We saw Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman working together. And we saw Seth Rollins distracted would be an understatement by the Cody Rhodes match. 2 weeks ago when the Vision is in trouble, Seth Rollins is nowhere to be found because he's thinking about this Cody match. Last week, we broke the whole thing down. He's talking to Paul Heyman about, well, what if I can't beat him? Well, what if I can't beat him? Meanwhile, everybody else in the Vision is concerned with this other thing over here and probably, honestly, Seth, have faith in you as the leader. Of course you can beat Cody Rhodes. Now let's get to business. So we see everything that happens at Crown Jewel. Cody Rhodes loses to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is a completely different person. We saw him pronounce himself as the GOAT at the end of this show, throwing Kathy Kelly out of the ring. He didn't even want questions. He just says, I'm the GOAT. And then and all of this sort of tension and insecurity evaporates. And Seth is Seth again. And he gets into the ring with the Vision. And there's Seth and Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And Seth is explaining what makes him special, what makes him different. And that's the fact that he has never needed anybody. And I think beating Seth Rollins without Becky, without the Vision, without anybody, probably has given him this heightened sense of what he is capable of. And so he goes, not only does he say, I've never needed anybody, he says, Roman Reigns needed the Shield. He says, I still don't need anybody. He says, I don't need anybody in this ring. And I was with you. Like, whoa.
And now we remember before Crown Jewel and that match, we saw Paul Heyman backstage in the locker room with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and told Braun to not go help Seth Rollins if he needed it in that match.
And we were thinking on the Crown Jewel recap podcast, we had this discussion. Was that a Heyman call? Was that a Seth call? Was that a Breaker call?
I mean, a few weeks ago on Raw, Seth Rollins was in the ring with Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes asked him if he knew that Paul Heyman was working with Brock Lesnar. And Seth lied, I think.
You think?
I think, and said
Allegedly.
yes, because everything goes through him.
Yeah, I can think of one. You know what went through him? Braun Breaker's shoulder.
Yes.
And I don't think he was a part of that plan. So
So I don't know if everything really did go through Seth.
Well, I can think, I would say now.
Yeah.
I would say that there must have been something else working, but also maybe not based on the reactions at the end of the show, right? Because you go, okay, so now but then he kind of covers it, right? He goes, I don't need anybody in this ring. I chose them. And you go, okay, I guess it's a little insult sandwichy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I insulted you. Just kidding. It's a compliment. It's like, well, I didn't really like the way you phrased that, you know? And so he says, I chose them. This is why I chose them. This is why they chose me, because I'm a visionary, et cetera, et cetera. Except, what did you notice was going on behind Seth while he was saying all this?
Well, Braun Breaker's body language completely changed.
It was not pleasant.
No. And I mean, this was earlier. Seth and him were having some fun, and Seth, introduces Braun Breaker to Perth, Australia, and he's like, "Come on, do the thing, do the thing you do before the spear," is what to our audio listeners who can't see the thing that I'm mimicking.
The thing.
But they were kind of having some fun, jostling together. But as soon as Seth said, "I don't need anybody, I don't need Braun Breaker," Braun's whole demeanor changed.
He doesn't like to be underappreciated.
No.
He works hard. And I think, and maybe that's it, right? It comes to a point where like Braun is like, I could be the future whenever I want, but I believe in you. Are you telling me you don't believe in me? Because if this ain't a two-way street, I don't think it's the one I'm driving on. So then we go to the backstage, right? After this thing happens, we go to the backstage, and Seth is really amping up his guys. He says, like, these are his three things: the birth of his child, his marriage to his wife, and watching these two grow. He says, make no mistake about it, that they are on the top of the mountain, that they are now breathing rarefied air, that they have made it. And he said, the crazy thing is, I think we're just now getting to the next level.
We're only 6 months into this.
I know.
And at the rate that you two have grown, wow, we're going to go places.
He's proud of them.
Yeah.
Right? And then we see our triple threat, which we will talk about momentarily. Well, maybe not. We'll talk about it. CM Punk, new number one contender.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this was part of the Vision's plan. Here comes the Vision. And tell me if I'm wrong. I felt like Braun Breaker, even coming to the ring for this, was far more of an aggressor and leader.
Well, he
than I'd seen him
speared Jey
before.
Uso immediately.
Remember what Roman said about Jay, that you need to go in and own the room that you're in?
Mm-hmm. Breaker did that.
Right?
Yeah.
I felt like maybe for the first time, he truly by himself owned it. When he first decides to dash down, and you're a runner, so you had to appreciate it, because he went from 0 to 60 getting down that.
Charles Robinson told us he was only running 80%. This was 120% of Braun Breaker's speed.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Terrifying. Goes right through Jey Uso. Punk is in there waiting for him. Braun says, watch this. He tells Punk, watch this, because he sees his prey from across the ring. He sees LA Knight. He goes, no, just stay right there and watch. I'm just going to do this real quick, so just watch it. He calls his shot. He takes it and nails it. Just runs around the ring, spears LA Knight. So now you've got LA Knight out, Jey Uso out. Not that they necessarily would have helped CM Punk anyway, because they're not exactly best buds. And then Bronson Reed gets in the ring, creates the distraction, but Punk is taking him on. Braun Breaker gets in the ring. Punk is ready for him, and then here comes Bronson Reed. Now the numbers game, and immediately Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker just take out CM Punk. And Seth Rollins is laughing at him. And Seth Rollins is in the ring with all that plaid. And Seth Rollins he's got the World Heavyweight Championship. And he says, this will never be yours. This will never be yours. This will never be yours. And at the end, Punk is there, and he's lying in a heap, almost in a fetal position.
Mm-hmm.
And they kick him out of the ring. And then Heyman.
And don't forget, the credits came up
I saw it. I saw it.
I said, okay, that's great.
That's it.
Monday Night Raw was great. I'm going to get on with my day.
And I tell you, I said, I said this. I said, you know what's interesting about that? Because I thought I'm already like the wheels are turning. I'm thinking this is the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So the wheels are turning of like, what are we gonna like point out on the recap? I go, you know what's interesting? I said to myself, this is like a rebirth of the Vision. That's what I said. I said, this is a rebirth of the Vision, maybe stronger than they've ever been. This is what I said to myself, right? Because I go, this image of Heyman and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins all standing together at the end of this show, I go, very similar to the night that they first formed.
Yeah.
When Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, before Bronson Reed was a part of it, stood in the ring on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania all together. I go, well, I'll tell you what, the future of this faction, oh my God! Because all of a sudden, Seth Rollins steps forward and Braun Breaker spears Seth Rollins out of whatever expensive shoes Seth Rollins was wearing. And I went, what? Now? Here? I thought they were stronger than ever. And Bronson Reed, and I'm studying everybody, right? Bronson Reed is just kind of observing. He's not really emoting, I found. Mm-hmm. Heyman looks horrified. Oh my God. Oh my God. And who knows? Was he horrified? And this is where we start questioning. Now we question everything.
Well, here's the thing about Heyman. He's taken the winner's side. So Heyman looking horrified, I mean, that's a sort of a neutral reaction, right? Of course I take Braun's side. Of course I take Seth's
We didn't know
side.
he would have to take a side. That's a very risky scenario.
Well, that's why you just look horrified, because I'm siding with the winner. So just.
Right. Look, you don't trust him at all.
Would you? Do you blame me?
Well, no, but I'm the one he threw off the set. He was hanging out with you.
I learn from what I see.
No, that's
Fool
smart.
me once, shame on me twice.
Well, you can't fool me again.
Yes,
That's the whole point.
That's it.
So I think I maybe you could be onto something, but also was Heyman horrified because he knew this was an eventual plan, but didn't know it was the plan tonight? Maybe, don't know. But he looks at Bronson Reed now. Braun Breaker does, and Heyman is in between their two heads, looking horrified, and he's like basically saying, "Pick him or me. Right now's the time." And Bronson Reed's like, "Okay." And just starts beating down Seth Rollins, tsunamis Seth Rollins, which all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, I remember that is what Bronson Reed does to Seth Rollins.
Yeah, Bronson Reed has all the confidence in the world. He's like, I already took this guy out before.
Right. And you know what?
Why do I need to be under him?
And guess what I
You're
did?
leaving? I'm leaving too.
Right. Because guess what I did earlier this weekend, by the way, as well?
I pinned Roman Reigns.
I pinned Roman Reigns.
Okay.
Right.
Also, who else has Bronson Reed pinned in like the last 6 months? I believe Randy Orton as well.
Oof.
That's nuts.
And who was at Bronson Reed's side when he pinned Roman? Braun Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
He knows Seth Rollins there. So then they look at Paul. And Paul's got a decision to make. And you're right. He knows who he's siding with. And in that moment, he looks horrified. He looks unsure. But he voluntarily grabs the wrist of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed and raises their arms up. And in a year where it's all happened, one of the iconic endings to an episode of Monday Night Raw, Braun Breaker has taken the world title off the waist of Seth Rollins. And Paul Heyman is holding up the wrists of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. But you look at Paul Heyman's face. He is in a spot where, yes, he's going to side with the winner, but also Paul likes control. Paul likes to be in control of the situations that he's in. He likes to know what the next step is. And Paul, to me, looks out of control. He looks, and he's not that good of an actor. I think Paul, he deserves an Emmy, yes, but is he that good of an actor? I don't know. It seems like Paul Heyman was not ready for this move and had to think on his feet in this instance. And look, he doesn't have the relationship with Seth that he had with Brock Lesnar or that he had with Roman Reigns or any of that. I don't think that him and Seth are saying, I love you to each other. But he said it to Roman Reigns. And so maybe it's not as difficult of a choice for Paul to make.
Yeah, I mean, Paul looks totally thrown off guard, which as the oracle, as the wise man, I mean, there's few times, right, where Paul has been thrown off guard.
Yeah, he didn't prophesize this.
No. But I mean, Braun Breaker looks as confident as ever holding that World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, like he's made this call. And like, by the way, 5 minutes before this moment, there was already a new number one contender named. CM Punk is the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title. But listen, when Braun Breaker, and I think this is almost something that like people were aware was going to happen eventually, but maybe they weren't sure when, is that Braun Breaker has gotten himself to the point where he's realized his own strength. It's almost like when your kid comes to the realization that they can beat you up, so you can't tell them what to do anymore. You know what I mean? You never want your kid to get there, to know like, no, I think I can kick your ass. So I don't think I am going to go to my room. And you're going, oh my God, I'm completely powerless against you. You figured the whole thing out. The whole thing was a schmoz from the beginning. It never made any sense. And I feel like that's what Braun Breaker has done. He's like, wait, why do you keep talking about the future? Why do you keep talking about years from now? Why do you keep talking about 10 years? Why don't we do this right now?
So do you think this was something Braun Breaker had been building towards? When you go back and you look at all the breadcrumbs, you go back frame by frame, or is this something that Braun Breaker is so disrespected that Seth Rollins said, I don't need Braun Breaker, that it lit something underneath him?
I mean, it's a great question. I think Braun Breaker, if I was Braun Breaker, and I am not Braun Breaker.
I can tell.
But okay, you didn't need to say it. If I was Braun Breaker, it's unnecessary. If I was Braun Breaker, I would have not been through. I think Seth Rollins has been displaying poor leadership qualities at least since this match with Cody Rhodes was announced, maybe since Clash in Paris.
Ever since the wife got involved.
Unfortunately, yeah, because look, on one end, it's been great. I love seeing Seth and Becky together.
I think it's amazing.
I loved the mixed tag match. But that wasn't Vision business. You know what I mean? And especially coming off of that, leading to Crown Jewel, where he's been totally on a different planet thinking about Cody Rhodes.
Staring at the watch, off in space.
Right. And if you're Braun Breaker, if you really are the future, then that means you have to have leadership qualities. And that means you have to respect other people's leadership qualities. And if a person that you're considering a leader does not display those qualities, well, guess what? You're an alpha. If you're sitting there and somebody is the leader and you're like, you know what? I could take this from them. And there's nothing they could do about it. How do you maintain that respect? So I think over the course of the last month, at least, I would imagine Braun was probably having those feelings, because we've brought that up many times that Seth has been separated from the Vision.
Yeah, we've always pointed out that it's been Braun, and Paul Heyman.
Right. And then I think...
And it was Seth and Becky for a while, and then it was just Seth.
Right.
I mean, Seth was so distracted, so in his own world, that even when Becky Lynch was backstage in the locker room going on about how she lost to Maxine, she was going to go to Adam Pearce, how she's not going to Australia, Seth couldn't give her an ounce of attention.
He didn't know any of it had happened.
No.
I think, yeah. And so I think that all of that combined with tonight, Seth saying, I don't need Bronson. I don't need Braun Breaker. I don't need Bronson Reed. Is like, that's when it's like, okay, we're not doing this. We're not doing the I'm your loyal soldier. I'm just here to sit under the branch of the learning tree. Like, I'm the man, dude. Like, I can make it so that you can succeed. That's the whole point of this. But maybe it's time for me to go out on my own.
Now, we've all, been on this journey with Braun Breaker since the beginning. I mean, his NXT days were so impressive. He comes up to the main roster and we all go, yep, he's it. Yep,
yeah,
he's it. I mean, he's in the Royal Rumble. We go, yep, he's it. I mean, he has moment after moment after moment. He joins the Vision and Seth Rollins, and none of us have any doubt in our mind that Braun Breaker is the future of the industry. I think all of us would say Braun Breaker is going to main event WrestleManias. Is he the future right now?
Well, yeah,
he believes he is.
Who wants to be the future when you think you're the present?
Yeah. And
I think that's where he's at. And you look at Seth Rollins, right? And he's on the ground, he's clutching those ribs. Who knows what kind of condition he's in? And, I would imagine he's got to get some kind of medical treatment, but I don't even know if he has a good doctor. The nice thing is that you don't need to have those emergencies thanks to ZocDoc. Have you heard about ZocDoc?
I've heard about ZocDoc.
You like ZocDoc?
Big fan of ZocDoc.
Oh, ZocDoc is the great. We're talking about it's 2025. You know, those days of only going to the doctor for emergencies, that's over. Okay. You go to the doctor to make sure you're right. You go to the doctor to make sure that you're healthy. You go to the doctor to make sure there isn't an emergency that you could avoid. Imagine if a doctor had been able to say, hey, stay away from Braun Breaker. He's bad for your health. Okay. You don't want the night sweats to turn into all day sweats. You don't want, your fingers to go numb texting I'm fine. You can't do it. You got to maintain. You got to keep up with your health, your body. It's all that you have on this planet is your body, and you don't want it to fail you. I mean, some people think that they work out and they're like, okay, I'm good to go. I go to the gym. I'm fine, right? Working out is a great way to take care of your body, but truly getting healthy takes more than hitting the gym, okay? It takes consistent annual checkups with your doctor. It takes a quality nutrition regimen and taking care of your mental health too. That's, again, something Seth Rollins had to learn the hard way in this whole Cody Rhodes story. Now, I mean, I think that finding a doctor can be difficult, especially you've told me when you moved to a new place.
How do you find a doctor?
You
no
didn't have
family around.
Right.
No recommendations.
Right.
I don't want to go to just anybody.
That's what you do. ZocDoc. And then you don't even have to call around. Oh, I need a doctor. Oh, what do you need a doctor for?
Do they accept my insurance?
Right.
ZocDoc
right.
tells you.
Hey, they do?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Are they accepting new patients?
Right.
ZocDoc tells you.
They do?
They do.
Oh, that's fantastic. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/raw recap to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/raw recap, ZocDoc.com/raw recap. And yeah, man, I think that I think that maybe that's what it's all about, is when people keep telling you you're the future and it's time to hit the present. But look, I'm looking around, right? And I find it so unique that when I was growing up and I was watching WWE, it was really easy, especially as a kid. I cheer for the good guys, I boo the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all those good guys that I would have cheered for, none of them get along with each other. They're now in a triple threat, and it's not a friendly triple threat trying to determine who the world champion is. And I go, all these bad guys get along even better. No, because Braun Breaker spears Seth Rollins out of his shoes. And look, when Paul Heyman raised the hands of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, Perth went wild. But I think that the reason they went wild was because of the moment that was just there.
It was shocking.
Right.
But I don't know how to feel.
Of course not, because Seth Rollins is a bad guy.
I don't know if I feel sympathy for Seth. I don't know if I'm happy with this new version of the Vision. I don't know.
Paul Heyman. He doesn't know either. You know what I mean?
And then I think, okay, CM Punk, who everybody loves.
Of course.
He's the number one contender to Seth's title.
Is he? Because Braun Breaker was holding it up at the end of the show.
But CM Punk won the match. He has to be the number one contender, right?
He got laid out.
But think about this.
Okay.
It was brought up earlier in the night. It was brought up last week, too. Paul Heyman said, he brought up the choice that he made at WrestleMania, how he chose Rollins over Roman Reigns and his best friend, CM Punk.
Yes.
Punk becomes number one contender.
Right.
Immediately after the Vision comes out.
Right.
This is a wild speculation.
Okay.
Completely wild.
I love wild speculation.
Is there any chance Punk maybe talked to Braun Breaker?
Punk talked to Braun.
And then Paul Heyman's best friend in the world?
No.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just throwing, it's a wild speculation.
I mean, I would
Because
imagine.
is Seth still going to be a guy we boo because he's a villain and we're just going to cheer CM Punk?
Well, I'm cheering CM Punk.
Right now I am 100%.
I haven't been convinced not to boo Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is still deserving of boos. You know why? Because he didn't come off the Cody win with any humility whatsoever. He came off the Cody win like a complete villain. I did it all by myself. I don't need anybody. I'm the only one who doesn't need anyone. I'm literally the greatest of all time. There's been no reason to cheer for Seth Rollins.
No.
None. But also the same can be said for, although.
But there's no reason to cheer the Vision. I mean, you saw what Bronson Reed did to Roman Reigns.
No, except that you cheer for when cool stuff happens. And Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed do really cool stuff.
Like stealing Roman Reigns' shoes.
It wasn't that cool,
I
but
don't know, a lot of people thought it was cool.
it was kind of cool. You got a T-shirt out of it. Yeah, I mean that's exactly yes. You know, yes. When people look, the reason Roman Reigns got as much attention as he did is because he started beating everybody, stacking them up in triple threat matches, dominating.
And looking really cool doing it.
And guess what's happening now?
They're cheering for him.
But guess what's happening now with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker?
They're doing cool stuff.
They're destroying everyone. Everyone. They're not lackeys. You know, and that's
Bronson Reed is more than a muscle.
they're two people who easily could step forward and say, we are in the world heavyweight title picture.
And
Easily.
no one would blink an eye.
No, because Bronson Reed pinned Roman Reigns.
Exactly.
And Braun Breaker is Braun Breaker. He's spearing everybody.
And we've all agreed he's the future, so why not now?
Right.
I just don't know
You don't
how
know
to
what.
feel about it.
Well, I mean, you feel about how you feel about it. You look at it, you witness it. You got no choice in the matter. You know, this wasn't on anybody's bingo card. And so I get where you're coming from.
You see the breadcrumbs, right? We saw the body language change in Braun Breaker. Before
I mean, they're
the
not
spear
breadcrumbs. They were dropping full bagels.
We see the bagels
Loaves.
dropped.
Loaves.
We see Braun Breaker's whole demeanor change. And I am thinking at the time, I have months to process how I feel about this.
No, you don't.
Because a lot's going to change with Braun Breaker in the time before he turns on Seth Rollins.
Right. What'd you
But I
write
was
down there?
I wrote questions for Sam
What?
when I was watching this morning because I wanted to talk to you all about it, but I said we must save it for the show.
Right. So you wrote
The first question I wrote is this too soon?
is this too soon? Meaning, is it too soon for Braun Breaker? Is it too soon to disrupt the vision?
Both. I think it's a double question.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's too soon because I think that because I don't think people really look at Braun Breaker as a one-day scenario. I think people look at Braun Breaker I think if Braun Breaker is by Seth Rollins' side, then you're talking about him. Maybe he'll main event WrestleMania 43 or 44. As of today, he's in the conversation for 42. There's no way he's not. And you can't convince me he's not in the conversation for 42. Everything changed today.
Another question I wrote down, is Rollins a good or bad guy? We just talked about that.
I mean, I say a bad guy who got beat up by a bad guy. Good guys are getting beaten up by good guys. I don't know what to make of anything.
Do you think Rollins ever fully trusted Paul Heyman?
Well, that's a great question.
Thank you. I thought so too.
Because that's very good. You sound like Rollins. Because I didn't need anybody. I wrote it myself. Did Seth Rollins ever fully trust? I mean, I think that Seth Rollins deliberately kept Paul Heyman at an arm's length for that specific reason. I think Seth Rollins trusted Paul Heyman as far as he would allow Paul Heyman to get in, meaning other people that Paul Heyman has been with, he has been a part of their whole life. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, you watch documentaries and you see this is not simply an on-screen relationship.
Mhm.
With Seth, I don't think he let Paul Heyman get in that far. And I think that what ends up happening is Paul Heyman could take that personally. When it comes down to like, okay, well, something's happened here and I need to make a choice. Is Paul Heyman going to choose the guy who won't allow him fully into his sort of orbit? You know, Paul Heyman doesn't want to be one of the many moons orbiting a planet. He wants to inhabit the planet.
Also, Seth, really smart guy, in my opinion.
Wow.
You just look at the past, right? He's someone who's learned from the past. He's become obsessed with the past. He thinks, there's a lot of baggage there with both CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And
Yeah.
CM Punk and Roman Reigns are both two of Seth's biggest rivals right now.
Yes.
Paul Heyman has a history with both of those men, and Seth knows that. And Seth, it feels like over the last 6 months, did a really good job of sort of using Paul Heyman to get the World Heavyweight Championship, to get the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah, but he didn't exactly stick the landing.
That's right. That's if Paul Heyman's involved. We don't know. So many questions.
So many questions.
Speaking of questions.
Oh, you have more questions.
I think I do have more. I just have a lot of notes here.
Well, a lot of thoughts. I love that you had to get it down.
Yeah, I had to write it all down. Punk is clearly a good guy unless Punk got to Heyman and Braun.
Okay,
that
you
was my
pitched
theory.
that. No,
I
I don't
pitched
think
it.
that's
You
a
didn't
good
like
theory.
it.
But
I also pointed out Seth keeps saying greatest of all time.
well, let's talk about CM Punk, okay?
Let's do it.
Because CM Punk gets out there and he wins this triple threat. But to me, I found this triple threat really fascinating because it wasn't like the Fatal 4-Way at Clash in Paris, because there was this feeling that Jay was kind of a little bit of an odd man out, because it felt like Punk and Knight both had this idea of, well, we're all just trying to beat up Seth, right? And Jay was like, nah, fam. And I think Jay was right. It's a Fatal 4-Way. It's not a handicap match.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this triple threat, the egos on Punk and Knight and Jay have all developed to the point that they're all at each other's throats. And this one felt like a much more aggressive match to me. This one felt like a much more every man for himself match to me. This one felt like maybe all three of them realized that they screwed up in the Fatal 4-Way, that they screwed up at Clash in Paris, and that's why none of them walked out with the World Heavyweight title, and they needed to correct that.
Except Jey Uso didn't exactly totally listen to his own advice.
Earlier in the night.
Yeah, because earlier in the night, he went out to help Jimmy Uso.
You don't think Big Brother Jim can beat big-headed Bronson Reed? That's what he said.
He did say that.
Well, and I was like, bro, he did beat Roman Reigns. I mean, that's tough. But no, he did. Oh, man. And there's so much there with the Usos. Like,
I know it's just Jay had said in that same backstage.
Yes.
It's like, look, I can't let this get in the way of a World Heavyweight Championship opportunity. And I can't help but wonder if it did.
Right. But then also, he's not going to let his brother get beat down. You know, he's not.
It's such a tough spot for Jay.
He's not going to let that happen. Yeah. And, I think Jay is struggling with this idea that he knows that he thinks that he's trying to define success by Roman Reigns standards.
Mm-hmm. Which Roman Reigns is one of the greatest champions of the modern era.
Correct, but it's a fool's errand. Like, you can't, an individual, a performer, an athlete, whoever it is, cannot judge their success by the standards of another person. A human being can only judge their success by their own standards. Roman Reigns was successful and continues to be successful until he got beat by Bronson Reed. But what makes Roman a successful person is that he's successful on his own terms. That's why he's uniquely successful. I think Braun Breaker decided on Raw. He needed to be successful under his own terms, which is what's going to make him successful. And I think Jay is making a mistake if he's modeling his success after Roman Reigns, because Jay is not Roman Reigns any more than Jay is Seth Rollins or Jay is Jimmy Uso or Jay is CM Punk. Jay is Jay.
He's uniquely himself.
That's exactly right. And that's honestly what's made him a success.
Yeah, that's what's captivated the audience.
Would you say that the success of Jey Uso is anything like Roman Reigns?
Very different.
Very different.
They weren't eating for Roman Reigns.
No, it was a totally different thing. But guess what? The children are dressing up as Jey Uso for Halloween. Something has worked. And I think that Jay is like almost like struggling with both of those things, right? Like, Jay.
Can I be Jay and be World Heavyweight Champion?
That's exactly right.
And he's done it before, but he couldn't hold on to the title. So he's struggling with the dude Jey Uso, yeeting Jey Uso, the entire persona of Jey Uso, who he is. Can that be the World Heavyweight Champion?
And it's like, yes, dude. Yes, it was. It can be again. Stop doubting it, And I think he's searching he always seems conflicted, this Jey Uso. Always seems conflicted. Instead of just trusting his
instinct, sort
that's
of,
right? Yeah, 100% instinct.
I mean, his instincts say, help your brother.
Help your brother then.
But there's this part of him that says, would a world heavyweight champion help their brother?
Jimmy and Jay had matching gear tonight.
See, you got to help your brother.
You got to help your brother. Did you notice they had matching gear?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both wearing the silver gear. I was like, oh, because that's real. And then you realize, like, that's what I want. And I don't think it's a downgrade. And I don't appreciate that CM Punk and LA Knight are both like, hey, why don't you go back to tag team wrestling? Because it's like, bro, the Usos? Are you kidding me?
We all love that. Please.
Greatest of all time territory. Look, I watched the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys have one last table match over the weekend, and it brought a tear to my eye. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen because there are very few performers in the history of professional wrestling that have made the kind of impact to multiple generations that the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys have. And there is, and you wouldn't look at the Hardy Boys or the Dudley Boys and go, oh, you're doing tag team wrestling. You know what I mean? You'd look at them and go like, I want to be like you. That's the only thing. I want to be like you. And that's what it is with, and by the way, that already is the case with Jimmy and Jey Uso, but that's what it is with the Usos. Like, they're on the road to being the greatest tag team of all time. And like a run where the Usos were on the same page, but they were a super team. And they really realized, no, it's world champion Jey Uso and top single star Jimmy Uso now coming together and forming this tag team called the Usos. And oh, by the way, they already have a tag team onslaught that they know like the back of their hands. Because how many people can achieve the singles success that both Jay and Jimmy have and still be considered what you would call back in my day tag team specialists?
I can't think of anybody.
Right. So that's really what I want for them. I constantly am waiting for like that light bulb to go off where Jay's like, I'm thinking too much. I think Jey Uso is thinking too much. And I know he wants the World Heavyweight Championship, but it's like, just ride the wave, dude. Let it all happen. You're in this spot. You're trying to grab hold of everything and you're hanging on too tight. It's slipping out of your grip. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. And I love the way you broke it down as well, because it's like we've been watching for weeks what's going on with Jey Uso.
Right.
Is Jey Uso acting like Roman Reigns? Jey Uso is conflicted. And we saw that play out tonight when he helped his brother.
Right. And he did the right thing helping out his brother. He did it in the Yeet shirt. Of course, you know, everybody's gearing up for the fall.
The green Yeet shirt.
The green Yeet shirt. Yeeting ain't easy. Everybody is gearing up for the fall right now with the latest WWE cold weather essentials. I'm talking about these amazing hoodies, these amazing jackets, quarter zips, yes, blankets, and more. All available now at WWE Shop and Fanatics. You can stay cozy while repping your favorite superstars. They've also got all new authentic tees that have dropped now at WWE Shop and Fanatics, including today's new Grande Americano Ringer t-shirt. Yes, get all your favorite superstar gear today. I know, Megan, I know you love to show up on Raw Recap with a little bit of merch. I'm just saying, if you showed up in a Grande Americano t-shirt, a lot of kids would say you were lit.
Well, today I was thinking about showing up to work with a neck tattoo.
Would you get it right on the throat?
That's what I was thinking about.
Well, you probably look great with it. Neck tattoos look really good. First of all, the WWE champion has one. So neck tattoos are great. And yeah, it was great to see one of the great champions of WWE as well. Right now, and
you seem like you're hesitating.
There's never been a period in the history of WWE where both the WWE champion and the WWE Intercontinental champion both have beautiful neck tattoos.
There's been a lot of talk on the internet. What should we call this era? Is it the neck tattoo era?
It could be the neck tattoo era. They've even come up with nicknames for Dominic based on the tattoo, the placement of the tattoo. The throat coat.
You should get one
The throat
right
coat.
here.
Dominic Mysterio.
You should get one right here on Raw Recap.
So? Like right.
I think it would be great.
I just don't know what I would
You'd
get.
have to update your action figure.
That's the problem. I can't. My deal with Mattel forbids me from it. So I can't. Unfortunately, I can't alter
In
my
the fine print, it says no neck tats.
That's right. Mattel made me, for 2 years, I can't alter my appearance in any way. So unfortunately, I can't get my throat tattoo. However,
well,
maybe
2
once the deal
years.
is
I
over.
mean,
we'll revisit.
Okay. We're
But
looking
listen,
forward to it. That would be a great action figure.
I feel like you are having a little bit of a mocking tone for the great Dominic Mysterio's new neck tattoo. I think it looks amazing. I think it looks great.
I'm not mocking at all. I was just pointing it out.
And by the way, Have you ever beaten Penta? Okay. Well, guess
No,
what? Guess
I
who
have
did?
not beaten Penta.
Well, guess who beat Penta?
Have you ever used a hammer
I
to
didn't-
get an advantage on one of the greatest luchadors of all time?
To get an advantage on Dominic?
No, Penta is one of the greatest luchadors of all time.
Like one of.
and
Okay.
Dominic took the hammer. Mallet? Hammer?
I saw when Berkeley sat up, I think the hammer was still on his chair.
No. Dom took the hammer.
Really? I didn't
Yes,
see that.
Used
That must have
it
been
against Penta.
No, because I saw
You had a lot going on this morning, so you probably missed it.
I missed
You
that.
You were fast forwarding through. Yeah, so Dominic.
I wouldn't fast
took-
forward through a Dominic match.
You're right about that. Dominic, though, took the hammer, used it against Penta, then put it in his boot to once again use the hammer against Penta. And the referee couldn't see the hammer because it was in his boot. And then went in.
That sounds like a referee problem.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, we talked about
lately.
that.
There's a
we
lot.
talked about that. More suspensions and fines?
We might have to.
Plural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, listen, okay. Dominic's got it. I'm kidding, of course. I did notice that the timekeeper's hammer was taken, but also, look, Jesse Body Ventura said a couple of things that were very wise. It ain't cheating if you don't get caught, and if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's one, and that's something that I live with to this day. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Okay,
Adam Pearce did say he noticed it, but he couldn't do anything about it.
so great. Notice everything all you want. Good for you, Adam Pearce. What are you going to do? Match is over. Referee's decision's final. You hire the best officials. There we go. We know who the Intercontinental Champion is.
And now Penta has a Rusev problem, which is
Penta has a big
problem.
Rusev problem. Penta has which is great news for Dominic because I don't think he wanted to deal with either of those
Well,
two
I
guys.
think Dominic is going to have a Judgment Day problem
Why?
because he got the tag team champions a match next week against AJ and Dragon Lee. Whoops.
Well, but they'll. You know what? I bet the Judgment Day will be successful again, and they'll go. You know what? In hindsight, it was good that you did that.
It's been a
Dominic."
little while since they've defended those titles.
You always say that.
They're not defending them.
Well, I mean, it's not. But, maybe there just aren't worthy challengers.
I mean, we just spent a whole time talking about tag team wrestling and how
I
great it is, and
I
all of a
forgot
sudden you're like, wait, there's no worthy challengers.
Forgot we just had that conversation. To be fair, I didn't remember that conversation that we had just had. But listen, it's in Dominic's blood to take advantage of whatever situation is in front of him. That was passed down through generations. Okay, Eddie Guerrero Eddie Guerrero was Mr. Lie, Cheat, and Steal. And by the way, people loved it when he did it. It was charming, if anything else. People were like, oh, I lied. They loved it. So, Dominic Mysterio is he comes from a long lineage of people who, understand how to take advantage of surroundings, but win matches that way.
He's
and that's
such a punk.
who?
Dom.
Okay, well, guess what? Did you hear, by the way, your ears are okay?
They're great. Thank you
Okay,
so much
well,
for
then did you
asking. Thank
hear?
you. We had some in-ear issues.
There were some issues. And I was just making sure that they didn't extend into Monday Night Raw. Because did you hear the sounds that Perth made when Dominic Mysterio?
They loved it.
Okay. So then why are you being a hater? Okay.
Because he's a punk.
He's not a punk. People love it.
I love Penta too.
Penta's great. But also the idea that you're in a match with Dominic Mysterio and you're not ready for him to maybe hit you with a hammer. I mean, you got to prepare for Dominic Mysterio. This is a guy who what do you think? He's a nice guy?
I don't think he's a nice guy.
He's got a neck tattoo. He spent time in prison, okay? This is a bad hombre.
That recovery from the neck tattoo was probably pretty quick too.
Well, that's because he's tough.
That's got to be painful.
No, yeah, he's tough. It doesn't hurt him. It's tough.
Bad hombre.
He is a bad hombre. We were talking about over the weekend, Tops Now.
I love Tops Now.
Me too. I got a bunch of Dominic cards from Tops Now because he makes these great moments. Dominic Mysterio does all the time, and you just hate on him. But I got all these trading cards that say you are wrong. Tops Now captures major milestones and viral moments from the biggest events. Okay, we know that Tops Now will be commemorating multiple big moments from Crown Jewel. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they had a Tops Now card commemorating what we saw at the end of Monday Night Raw. I hope so. Stephanie Vaquer and Seth Rollins are each going to get their own individual cards commemorating their wins with an autograph chase and dual card of them with a one-of-one autograph chase. Ooh, That means you're going to get one person's going to get a card signed by Seth Rollins and Stephanie Vaquer. That rules. That's one of those, like, where are you ever going to see that context again? That's amazing. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky also have a dual card with an autograph chase, including a one-of-one dual autograph inscribed Rio by both stars. Look at that.
That's just what Rhea wrote on her face
That's
as well.
awesome. That is awesome. Lucky collectors who buy the base card of these moments have the chance to receive parallels and possibly the autographed one-of-one versions. Check out these cards on Topps.com and make sure to sign up for notifications, as there may be another big card coming out this week from an incredible Crown Jewel show. I mean, listen.
Wait, by the way, at Crown Jewel, we had the moment with both Crown Jewel champions, Stephanie Vaquer and Seth Rollins, in the ring. I was scrolling through Twitter over the weekend, and some of the lip readers broke it down. It looked like Seth told Stephanie that his wife was going to come after that championship, which I loved.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, I love that.
Too.
I don't know if he actually said that, but
probably
the
did,
lip
right?
readers on social media told me he did.
I believe it.
I do too.
I believe it.
Believe everything they say.
Yeah, what's the internet?
Yeah.
What are they going to lie?
No.
Yeah, no.
Throw the books away.
I think you're right. And I also think, like, one day you're going to have to stop coming on here and coming up with excuses why it's bad that Dominic Mysterio won, because he's only going to keep winning. However, we did have a great moment with Rio on Monday Night Raw, which was the dual meme. The dual pointy meme with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky both coming to the ring together. Okay, so what did you make? Because you've been very sensitive to Kairi Sane. There was this moment where Kairi Sane showed Asuka the damage.
I've been sensitive to Kairi Sane. Poor Kairi Sane has been getting abused.
Well,
Did you see the damage to her forehead
Well, it matches
of what she went through?
I saw
to
the
protect
damage.
Asuka.
I saw the damage on her forehead, and then Asuka gave her one to match on her chin.
I know.
That was nuts.
It's a dictatorship.
That was nuts.
Kyrie, before this match, I thought Kyrie was being held hostage completely.
But then what happened?
Then Kyrie pulled out a kendo stick.
People, and here's the other thing. People forget, because Kyrie is sympathetic, somewhat hilarious at times.
Nice.
Nice, great. People forget that Kyrie is lethal. Kairi Sane is absolutely lethal. This isn't a conversation when you talk about, like, main event level women's wrestlers. It's not Io, Rhea, and Asuka. It's Io, Rhea, Asuka. It's Io, Rhea, Asuka. I was like,
Very difficult.
I knew one letter was messed up there. And Kyrie. Like, Kyrie's right there with them. She is absolutely lethal, and I think Asuka knows that. So it's like, let's not complain about our bruises. You know, I give you another one. You complain about that one.
And
Let's
Asuka
go.
knows
Let's go to
Kyrie
work.
so well, right? She's pushing her
100%.
buttons, and Kyrie, if she really was as scared as she plays off, she would run away. But today, she ran away and came back with a kendo stick.
That's right, because Kyrie knows. I mean, like, you know. However, if Kyrie were to walk away, I think Asuka would have a little bit of a problem. But I love that. What I love about this, and it's not the best way to get it done. Fine. But what I love is that it is raising Asuka to that place where it's reminding everybody what a threat she is. You know, I think it actually has widened what the top of the card looks like in the women's division. And I think that that's a good thing. I mean, Kyrie has to kind of take the brunt of that, but it's still good.
But Kyrie is also elevating as well.
I think so too.
Because you're seeing how much of a killer that Kyrie Sane is.
And also, like, the idea that Kyrie and Asuka are not even remotely done
No.
with Rhea and Io.
I mean, think about this. The leader that Asuka is. She says, listen, you lost at Crown Jewel, Kyrie. You lost. It wasn't me. You were the one who got pinned by Io Sky. And now to make it up to me, you have to face Rhea Ripley tonight, one-on-one in Perth, Australia.
She wants greatness.
Yes.
It's tough. It's a tough challenge.
But when Kyrie got in the ring, I mean.
Right. That's what I mean. That's what people forget, I think. That's why, like, these things happen, you know, to be like, no, she actually is fully capable. And maybe, like, maybe Asuka sees that, you know, maybe Asuka's like, hey, you are capable of beating her.
I need to put you in this situation.
Exactly. And, just doesn't have the best bedside manner in the world.
She's a little harsh.
Well, it is what it is. I have to tell you, there is big news. Big news for WWE fans, big news for sports fans, big news for entertainment fans. I'm talking about the world's #1 sports fan festival, Fanatics Fest. It's making its return to New York City.
Let's go.
Yes, that's right. Fanatics is bringing you closer to the leagues, teams, and superstars, the athletes that you love across four action-packed days in July. Meet your favorite WWE superstars, get your hands on exclusive merch, catch live podcasts, and interact with the biggest names in sports. Tickets go on sale this November. That's next month already. So mark your calendars and don't miss out. Full information is up at fanaticsfest.com. You remember how amazing it was last year.
A blast.
Yeah.
So many WWE fans there.
And it's just a moment factory. Everywhere you look.
I mean, John Cena ran into you and
did?
hugged you over a table.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
No,
Yeah,
you didn't. You replay it every hour on the hour.
I brush my teeth to it. It's the best. It's the best thing.
Maybe you'll get a Dominic Mysterio moment next July.
Oh, maybe he'll tattoo my neck.
But you can't 2 years.
Yeah, I forgot about my licensing agreement. Okay, now that we've had some time to process, what do you think of the fact that the division turned on Seth Rollins? I mean, because that was crazy.
I'm shook. Do the kids still say shook?
Shooketh. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where it's all going. And I also, so you brought up this question earlier, which was we saw Punk win that triple threat match.
Yes.
Now, he pinned Jey Uso. So I wonder if LA Knight is going to keep up with this. Well, you didn't pin me.
I pinned Seth Rollins. I'm still the last person to pin the World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, I feel like it's settled for now. I'm not saying that LA Knight should never get a title shot, but I think that a triple threat match to determine the #1 contender is...
After the Fatal 4-Way.
This is the way to do it.
That was it.
This is the way to do it. And honestly, we do need this CM Punk World Heavyweight title match. But, how do you get there if Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed just attacked Seth Rollins? That is one of the trippiest parts.
That's
of
why
all
I
of
was
this.
trying to draw the connection.
But I don't think there is a connection because they beat
just
down CM
two
Punk.
shocking things
okay,
that happened.
but here it is.
They're not related.
Why would CM Punk go? Yeah, and then you'll just destroy me. You'll beat the stuffing out of me,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a good plan.
That's true. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's there are some.
But
that
where does Heyman get involved now? Okay, just take out the vision. I guess Heyman's not involved then. If it's Seth and his best friend CM Punk, does Heyman get involved?
I mean, that's a great question.
Right?
Is Heyman fully out of the Seth Rollins business?
I don't know. Is he fully out of the CM Punk business? I don't know.
Well, he should be out of the CM Punk business. He turned on him. I don't think CM Punk would allow Heyman back into his business.
Not right now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what the future holds, but
is he out of the Seth Rollins business?
yeah, I mean, I don't think he planned on being out of the Seth Rollins business this soon. And if
Didn't seem like Seth planned on his people being out of his business soon, even though he said, I don't need them.
But when he literally, I mean, was there any part of you, because you pointed that out, right? Him saying, I don't need them, kind of gave you pause. But didn't you feel bad for Seth when he goes, well, he literally said, I'm on cloud 9 right now, guys. I've never been happier.
I mean, the third best moment of his life.
Yeah.
Proudest moment of his life.
And it's behind having
Birth of a child.
and literally marrying Becky Lynch. Can you think of anything better than marrying Becky Lynch?
Not one thing.
Okay.
Not one thing.
Which your husband would be
Not even the
super-
birth of my own child. Just kidding.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I can only think of I can think of one.
Well, I was thinking as Seth was saying, I don't need anybody. I was like, yeah, Becky doesn't either.
I guess so. I mean, I can only think of one thing that would be better than marrying Becky, but it's neither here nor there.
Dominic Mysterio neck tattoo?
No, I was thinking if you married Dom, that would be huge for you. That would be
That'd be big for me.
I mean, not for Dom. Yeah, it'd be big for you. Of course. Yeah, that'd be massive for you. And you could get that. You get the his and hers neck tattoos.
It's the neck tattoo era.
Yeah. Only thing is, when Dominic Mysterio puts a mask on now, I'm definitely going to know it's him.
Oh, yeah, that's
Because of the
right.
neck tattoo.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would know it's him anyways.
Of course I would. I know those eyes anywhere.
But back to Seth.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
said back to Seth.
Well, yeah, but just back to Seth. I mean, is Heyman completely out of
Okay. That's the question, right? Is Heyman out of, especially because because you're right.
You look so shocked.
And if the next step, if the next step is Seth versus Punk, then where does Braun Breaker fit into it? And in that case, where does Paul Heyman fit into it? And is Paul Heyman going to be able to come out on television and say, "Oh, this was all part of my grand master plan"? You know what I mean? No way. We saw it all over your face. This is definitely not part of your grand master plan. Like, is Heyman? I mean, you talk about Heyman taking a back seat.
Does Seth come out and say, "I saw this coming all along"?
He better not. Because if he saw it coming all along, he would have gotten out of the way of that spear.
Right? And he wouldn't have said that a top 3 moment of his life was being proud of Braun.
Is there any possibility that this is another ruse of the century? I'm not advocating for it. I'm presenting conversations.
Sure, it's a possibility.
Right. But
Sure, it's
there's
always a possibility.
There's also a possibility that we grow wings and fly away.
Well, not really a possibility of that. But I
You
hear
see what
you're
I'm saying?
I don't think it's a ruse.
No, especially it's like you already named something the ruse of the century,
You can't have two.
literally in the same year.
No.
That's-
We got another century for that.
That's not how
in
ruses-
the Mattel deal, along with the no neck tat.
That's right. That's 100% right.
One ruse per century.
Right. Yeah. So I think, and also even for the purpose of a second ruse of the century, nobody's taking a spear from Braun Breaker. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like it's just too. I
And
think
the fact that Braun had to ask Bronson, which side are you taking? It feels like Braun acted alone.
I would agree. Although I'll bet there has been some conversations, like you know how when like your boss is kind of annoying, and you're like you can't do it on Slack because the company sees Slack, but like you go out to lunch or something, you're like, who's really annoying?
It's a long flight to Australia.
Oh,
I heard Wi-Fi was down. Maybe Braun sitting next to each other.
Like, who's really annoying? I know. Like
He's on a charter. We're on this plane.
like you think Braun Breaker was like, yeah, it's weird that Seth said that, right? And Bronson Reed was like, yeah, I guess it is weird. Yeah, it's not that cool, is it?
He hasn't really been
No, I
paying
guess it's
attention
not
to us a lot lately.
No, I guess he hasn't. Like, they start testing each other to see if they're like really on the same page or
Mhm.
not.
But you don't want to go there yet, just in case.
I guess like, imagine if I speared him on Raw. Yeah, imagine if you speared him on Raw. Yeah, imagine if I speared him on Raw. All of a sudden, we realize we're on the same page.
Mhm.
I have to believe that Braun Breaker on some level knew that there was at least a feeling there that like I don't think it was that big of a gamble for him.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like it wasn't that big of a gamble to get Bronson Reed on his side.
It's also like, hey, Bronson, you took Seth out.
You can do this, right? Bronson's like, yeah, it's a tradition at this point. It's one of my favorite pastimes. Tsunamiing Seth Rollins is one of my favorite pastimes. Yeah. No, I think that that's right. And then they knew if it's the two of us,
Heyman has to come with us.
yeah, he's not gonna.
Gonna stand up for Seth after I spear him and you tsunami him?
You think Paul Heyman thinks about the bloodline sometimes and is like, man, we had it. It's like Andy Bernard just going, I wish somebody would tell you that you were in the good old days while you were still in them. like Paul's like, it's been really chaotic since like, I don't know, probably right around even the beginning of the year. Like it's gotten really
Ever
chaotic.
since I got thrown through that table at Madison Square Garden by the Samoans, it's just been tough.
You think that's where everything changed
For Paul?
in general? Like,
Yeah, I feel like Paul was living large until that moment.
because he thought he would be saved, and when he got right, okay, so because when he thought he could be saved, up until he got powerbombed through the table.
When he said, "You are not my tribal chief."
You are not. Yeah. And then that's the moment he realized, oh, nobody's coming to save me.
That's it.
That's the moment that his loyalty was broken. That's the moment that And then coming off of that, he recruited CM Punk for the War Games match because he's like, look, like
He owed him a favor.
I'm not blinded by this anymore. Then he owed Punk a favor.
He kept saying, I love my tribal chief.
But because his tribal chief had betrayed him way back when, he had never forgiven him for that. And so then he goes with Seth Rollins, but it's been a mess since then.
Seth never let him in.
Right. And now
It all started at Madison Square Garden.
now we're here. It all started at that powerbomb at Madison Square
I think
Garden.
so. It's been tough for Paul since then.
Yeah, this is all because Roman lost the title. His whole world, isn't that
All roads lead back,
his
right?
whole world, Roman's world affected everybody.
Yeah, it's affected Seth.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
He was the nucleus of all of it in
Jay,
WWE.
Jimmy.
And when his world
Punk.
came crashing down, everything went down with it. And it's just been this slow process of everybody trying to figure out how to put the pieces back together.
But Roman's loss didn't affect Braun Breaker.
No, it affected him positively.
Yes.
Because Braun Breaker can come up from NXT and go, look at all these people in a weakened state. Now would be a great time to go hit the top of the card. And now everybody's looking like, huh. And they're looking at Braun.
We are all still impacted by the tribal chief. And look at Braun.
Right. And Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed's coming off a victory over Roman Reigns. Braun Breaker is coming off of spearing Seth Rollins out of his shoes. Like all of a sudden, Seth Rollins' lackeys are in this position where they control everything. And what can anybody do about it?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Not one thing.
What a wild time. Well, guys, I mean, we knew we were going to have a lot to recap. I didn't think we knew that we were going to have this much to recap. We will be back with you next week here on Monday Night Raw at our usual time. Make sure you're subscribed across all audio platforms, liking and commenting on YouTube. And we'll see you next week here on the Raw Recap.